Okay, so a little quick demo here of the iron on this 4-in-1 ESC. Typically, you just want to solder onto these little pads here. I'm going to add a little bit of flux. So I highly recommend that if you do a lot of soldering, you get one of these little flux pens, add a little flux there. That will help transfer the heat to these solder pads. And you just apply a little bit of flux on each of these first, and then I'm going to apply the solder with the iron. The solder I use is this one from MG Chemicals. It is a 6337 blend. I've been using this for years, and it looks like I need to replace this one pretty soon. I'm going to be running out, but yeah, they do last a long time, and I know there's a lot of cheaper solder out there. It's just not worth it in my opinion. This is the best one to get. But the tip there I want to show you is you want to use a little bit of electrical tape to cover up these components that are on the ESC, like the little FETs and stuff, and then the capacitors. A lot of beginners, they'll push in the solder too fast, and then the flux will splash out, and sometimes it'll carry small little tiny blobs of solder itself, which is the actual metal, and they'll attach themselves to one of these components. And then if it happens to be on like a FET or something here, first time you plug in or you throttle up, one of these will just pop because of a short, and you've basically ruined your 4-in-1 ESC. So this is what I usually do when I build my quads. I just use some electrical tape, cover up the pads that aren't going to be touched by the soldering iron, and then that'll take care of the problem. Okay, so got a little tape covered up the top there. Now, these FETs on this model are fairly close to these pads, so you still want to be very careful and double check that you don't have any excess solder hitting any of these little joints here, or if you bridge any of those, that will definitely cause a short and burn them in the when you power up. So we want to be careful of that. Going to apply some flux to each of these pads. Okay, so that was a kind of a quick example. This is kind of what your solder should look like, nice and shiny when you're tuning up your ESC. And you can kind of see that even though I went very slowly to push that solder into where the heat was, you can still see a little bit of that splashing on the tape here. So if any solder blobs got thrown in here, if you're making a mistake, you might not see that, and you might have a mysterious ESC fire from when you solder up your ESC. So I usually keep this on here when I'm tuning it up. When I put the ESC into the quad and then I attach the motor wires, I usually take tape off. At that point, you're not adding a lot of solder. You're just combining the solder that's already on the pad with the motor wire, and it usually doesn't splash. So at that point, I'm pretty sure you're going to be okay. Just do that when you're tuning up the ESC and you should be good.